Hey everyone, Coach Investor back to another earnings video for today. So I just finished the Airbnb video that's already live on the channel. If you missed that, amazing quarter yet again. The stock is down a little bit. Hey, if it's down even more, you get to buy an amazing company for a better price after another great quarter. So if you haven't watched that, it's going to be in the top right corner. As for Block, although you will see it's an okay report yet again, right? We've seen okay reports from Block yet again, although there are still some aspects of the business that are just not very stable, but there is some explanation for that. The stock is down 5% or so. They did raise again the EBITDA estimates for the full year, so that's good. But overall, there needs to be some stability here. Expenses are still on the rise. I mean, maybe they don't really care that much about profitability of the business right now in the short term. They're more focused on long-term things, on Bitcoin development, Tidal, whatnot, which again is not really what the majority of investors in Block want, right? And so let's have a look at what has happened this quarter. Gross profit increased 27% year over year to $1.87 billion. As for Square gross profit and Cash App gross profit, Square grew 18% year over year, Cash App gross profit 37% year over year. Of course, last quarter for Square, we saw that little dip here. Now a nice little reacceleration there, so that's great. And this is my problem. You see, these three things here: operating income, adjusted operating income, and net income loss yet again. This isn't stable. This isn't something that you would like to see for the long term, right? Operating income for this quarter was a loss, $132 million. Then, of course, there is some explanation. I'll go over that in just a second. Adjusted operating income in this case, $25 million, down from $51 million last quarter, but up from a loss of $103 million last year. As for net income, that was a loss, $123 million. So the explanation here, they say here they present adjusted operating income or loss because we use it to evaluate our operating performance, generate future operating plan, and make strategic decisions instead of using the not adjusted one. Because with the adjusted one, that excludes certain expenses that we believe are not reflective of our core operating performance, including amortization of intangible assets, Bitcoin impairment losses, acquisition-related accelerated share-based compensation expenses, and acquisition-related integration and other costs. Okay, so that's why we have to focus here on gross profit, and that has been doing quite well. And so let's start with Square, in this case, growing up market. So growing up market continues to be a strategic priority for the Square business as mid-market sellers adopt more of their ecosystem, which has led to stronger retention over time. In the second quarter, gross profit from mid-market seller was up 20% year over year, outpacing total Square gross profit. As for expanding globally, as you can see here, the trend continues to go up. So that's nice. I believe quarter over quarter, that's up around $20 million or so. So in the second quarter, gross profit in markets outside the United States grew 23% year over year and represented 16% of Square gross profit. Driving product adoption has also been a focus in our international markets. In Australia, in the 12 months ended in June, nearly half of Square's gross profit came from sellers that used 4 or more monetized products, up from approximately 20% compared to the same period 2 years ago, due to in part to our advancements in product parity. During the call, Jack said a couple of times that he's working almost daily with the Afterpay team to really make the whole experience pretty seamless, because the integration is still not complete. Then with regards to the Cash App ecosystem, so they use the inflows framework to assess the performance of Cash App's gross profit as a result of 3 primary variables: 1 actives, 2 inflows per actives, and 3 monetization rates on inflows. So first thing we have to look at here, first of all, you can see here Cash App peer-to-peer volume, $53 billion. And by the way, I'm always amazed that we always get different type of graphs during this earnings report. One goes in, one goes out. One goes in, one goes out. Why can't they just keep each and every quarter the same, or the same plus add new info? Why remove info? I don't get it. Anyways, in the second quarter, peer-to-peer transactions per active increased on a year-over-year basis and reached an all-time quarterly high, while peer-to-peer volume was $53 billion, up 18% year-over-year. Continued momentum in peer-to-peer volumes has helped drive growth in our active base. In June, Cash App had 54 million monthly transacting actives, that's up 15% year over year. With regards to Cash App and commerce, they say they launched Cash App Pay with several marquee Afterpay merchants such as Steve Madden and Fenty Beauty, and recently they expanded to payment providers such as Stripe, Adyen, and PayNearMe, an important step in broadening our distribution and reaching a much wider range of merchants. I agree, very good move. They continue by saying more than 2/3 of Cash App monthly transacting actives were millennials or Gen Z customers as for the second quarter. According to a research article by Morgan Stanley, the outsized population size of millennials and Gen Z could lead to more spending in the United States in the coming years, showcasing the large spend opportunity for merchants to access during the second quarter. By the way, this is because they spent without, like, there's no tomorrow. During the second quarter, nearly $500 million in volume was processed through Cash App Pay on an annualized basis, and there were nearly 1 million Cash App Pay monthly actives as of June. And so, here we are, revenue and gross profit. So total revenue was $5.53 billion in the second quarter, that's up 26% year over year, but if you exclude Bitcoin, revenue in the second quarter was $3.14 billion, up 20% year over year. They say here also subscription and services-based revenue was $1.46 billion, that's up 33% year over year, and gross profit for that segment was $1.18 billion, up 34% year over year. Then as for the Square ecosystem revenue and gross profit, so in the second quarter, Square generated $1.93 billion of revenue and $888 million of gross profit, up 12% and 18% respectively. The Buy Now Pay Later platform contributed $180 million in revenue and $84 million of gross profit. And as for Square GPV, that was $54.15 billion, up 12% year over year and 13% year over year on a constant currency basis. And here they give a bit more information. So they observed the following trends in Square GPV during the second quarter of 2023. The products. Card present GPV was up 16% year over year. As for the GPV in the US market, that grew 10% year over year, and growth in the international market was 26% year over year. As for the verticals, and this is something they mentioned I think a couple of times during the earnings call, so food and drink and retail are two largest verticals on a GPV basis, were the greatest driver of GPV growth year over year. Food and drink was up 17% year over year, and retail GPV was up 9% year over year. And as for gross profit in the vertical of point of sale solutions, including Square Appointments, Square Restaurants, and Square Retail, that was up 37% year over year. And this again shows you that they can target a client that is in all of these verticals, right? Can be a store, it can be a restaurant, can be retail. Maybe it's a restaurant that also wants to go into retail. So they have that solution to offer them, that full suite solution to offer to one merchant, which is not something that you can find with competitors. Maybe there is one or two, but most of them don't do this. Then as for the Cash App ecosystem, so that generated $3.56 billion of revenue and $968 million of gross profit, up 36 and 37% year over year. If you exclude Bitcoin there, revenue was up 39%. And here you can see the increase in inflows that grew 25% year over year to $62 billion, up $1 billion quarter over quarter. As for subscription in this segment, that was $1.03 billion, that's up 43% year over year, and growth was driven by transaction fees from both Cash App Card and Instant Deposit, as well as interest earned on customer funds and revenue from other financial service products. And last thing here is the trend and forward-looking commentary. So business trend for gross profit, Q2 2023 year-over-year growth of 27%, in July 21%. As for operating expenses, that will remain a bit flat quarter over quarter. And as for outlook, and this is the raise here, so adjusted EBITDA, $1.5 billion. Previously, that was $1.36 billion. And adjusted operating income of $25 million. Previously, a loss of $115 million. Again, good, but let's wait and see until there is a solid trend on the way up. And so to conclude, while I continue to hold my shares of Square, I did say in the last 2 monthly videos or so when we talked about the best stocks to buy now, Square was in one of those videos. I think the price was then $65, $66 or so. because there is potential here. There is a lot of potential here, and seeing that the stock price hasn't really moved that much this year, I still believe that in the long term, they will reward its shareholders. I'm still holding my shares, still a pretty big position in my portfolio, but again, this is again an okay quarter. It's not a wow quarter blowing it out of the water like Shopify, like Airbnb, like Amazon just did. And that's a shame, But hey, do share your thoughts down in the comments below. If you enjoy this type of videos, leave it a thumbs up, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.